Hello, 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 everybody, and how are we doing today? So let's get to it. Twitch Blood Bowl, and we are at week 4. It actually feels just like yesterday since I started, but today I have the Great Wolfskin with me. Hello, hello, and how are you doing?
I'm doing mighty fine, and I hope you are doing as well.
I am doing what I love. Thing is I haven't been playing Blood Bowl a lot lately, and I feel bad because of that, because I really do like Blood Bowl. It's just, it kept crashing on my computer.
Oh, that sucks. But
Yeah.
neither did I. I don't find the time to do that. Being a dad now really takes away from my playing times.
Yeah, I get you. Having a family and stuff.
Yeah.
That would definitely make it a little bit harder to do it. But yeah, I've been unfortunately because there were a few times where I tried to play Blood Bowl and it would just consistently crash, and I was like, well, I have to do something else because I'm not gonna sit here and just constantly reload the game. But anyway, let's have a look at last week, because last week during the recap, not everyone had played their games, so we can go through and have a look at those. At the top, we can see. We could just go into the leaderboard, actually. Yeah, that'll do for now. If you can look, we actually have a few undefeated teams, which I think is crazy. And the fun fact is two of the I picked two of those teams at the start. At the very start, I said I reckon Andy Davo and the Sage are two very good players that I think are in the league to win it.
Well, the Sage is mighty fine. I haven't seen Andy Davo much, but I think last time we streamed, you told me that Andy Davo is a pretty good coach as well.
Yeah, everything
So
I've seen of him has been fantastic.
I'm not surprised by the Sage. I mean, he's a very methodical player, and he's as far as I know his games. I haven't seen that many games, but every time I watch him, he's very thorough in ordering and doing stuff with thinking beforehand. So yeah, it doesn't really surprise me much.
Someone who actually surprises me that it's in the top, and again, this is only because their playstyle is so at odds with my playstyle that I was just it's a Storbitas, and obviously their playstyle is working for them because they are winning game after game, and they're usually winning them by a decent margin as well, from what I recall.
Yeah,
It's usually a whole they have a couple touchdown lead. Of course, Skaven being the scorers that's a given, but just the way that he makes those wild animal, maybe no block or no reroll blocks like right at the start instead of doing other things first. Always, because I've always been taught make your safe moves first, but he always makes his risky moves first. So it's like,
well, the risk reward is huge if you make your rolls then, but also the failings are really disastrous if you do that in that order. So yeah, maybe it's kind of playstyle, but it's also very unsafe, I think.
it is unsafe, but it is working for him. Like you cannot argue with results. His results say that he's on the top at the moment.
Yeah, and as you can see, the coach and Sassanik are also at the top. 3 teams, and the coach is the one I lost on direct comparison, so I did not get to play in the Invitational, so no big surprise that he's there. And Sassanik is also very good with the Slytherin, so
I did notice that Sassanik has a loss there, so I am wondering if one of these 4 teams, so the Knit Rats, Shades of Despair, Carnival of Spurs, or the Team Witches, the A-Team Witches, or even the Tears of Rain and My Mummy is Daddy is a Mummy, those 6 teams, I want to know if any of them are going to come out with a win, and it's going to end up being like, because they can't all draw. I mean, they could, but I doubt it. If it's going to come out as a like we're going to have an undefeated team that's been undefeated for over half of the league here,
which would be pretty awesome. I mean, yeah, it's like 6 days, right? So we are at day 4 right now. So if one of those teams does pull off a win, they are pretty much favored to pull it off in the end, because having 4 wins on 6 days
I think
pretty good.
So my top 3 are Andy, the Sage, and Storbitas. And also, one of the things about the scheduling is it's Andy and the Sage that are going up against each other this week. with both
Oh.
Dark Elf teams. And after I'm going to have a look at those teams, but the Sage is that's who it was coming on with us. The Sage is coming on later, and I think I might go through the team with him. But I actually,
Yeah.
as much as I think Andy is a good player and I'm a fan of his, I actually think the Sage has got an advantage when it comes to the team he's built. Just because Andy doesn't have the Sage has more block, a lot more block, and also he's got I think a tackle and a mighty blow as well, while Andy doesn't have that. And I think
Oh wow.
Sage is going to go for some more aggressive player removal style.
Yeah.
And that could really nip Andy's playstyle in the bud.
Mirror matches actually do most of the times come down to who removes first. Like, if you've got a mirror match and you're likewise in skill level, it's really coming down. If you can remove 2 or 3 guys before the other one can even make his place, it's practically over, right?
And that's why I was looking at those teams, and it's not a complete mirror match because of the way the teams are built completely differently on both sides.
Yeah,
and
I'm
I was
just
looking
right
at
now having a look at Sage's team. I found that one first.
Yeah, that Sage's team is on page 6, and Andy's team is on page 8.
Yeah, he does have a mighty blow blitzer, but he's lacking tackle as well. He does have a rodging, so wrestle dodge witch elf. So and which page was
8? 8 is Andy.
There we go. So have a look at that team. Well, 2 times guard is not bad, but I think
it's not bad. But like when I was looking at it, I mean, his entire team is that aren't linemen are effectively block, because I really do count wrestle as a sort of block because you can use it in that situation, so you won't get injured.
It's true.
But neither team has tackle. And I think that mighty blow, if that mighty blow goes straight for those maybe those guard blitzers to get rid of them, or maybe goes for the witch elves, Andy could be in some serious trouble.
And those guard blitzers don't have dodge, right? So there's always like 2 rolls that can get rid of them. So yeah, you're right.
Ceramol says he thinks it's going to be 2-1 to Andy. See, I'd like to think that, because again, I'm a fan, but I just, while looking at the teams, something tells me, just like this feeling says that I think if it's not going to be a tie, I reckon the Sage is going to pull through.
I mean, there's one really distinctive difference between those teams, and that is, I think that the Sage does run a runner, which I personally kind of not approve of, but in this matchup, if you're not able to get to the ball with your blitz, and you've got 3-4 dodging opponents who can receive the ball, in the case that you do blitz the runner, it's going to be difficult, right? And he does have the leader reroll, so he's at 3 rerolls. So 1 reroll in advantage is also a huge thing.
Oh, and also Ceramol talking about the Storbatus's risky moves. Sometimes you need to do risky plays to open other things up. I completely agree with that. However, when I have casted, I think 2 out of the 3 games that Storbatus has played, and as I watch those games, I think I recall almost 80% of his moves, he starts with the risky plays. So it's not about opening up so much. It's just he naturally just starts with the risky ones. And that's why it's so at odds with the way that I've been told to play Blood Bowl.
Yeah.
So I like, at the very start, I was like, when I was watching the first game I'd ever seen of his, I was like, oh no, I don't see him winning the league. I think he could get far, but I don't think he'll win. And he's defeated every one of his opponents so far. So I can't. Oh, Andy is in the tabletop top 10 in the world for Dark Elves. That's something I didn't know, but... So we'll definitely see, but... Again, he didn't build his team specifically to match up against another Dark Elf team. And I just feel like that tackle... Oh wait, no, there wasn't a tackle. I need to look at the team again. I feel like... Yeah, that runner with... That's dump off, isn't it?
Yeah, it's dump off.
Yeah, thought so. Didn't want to get it wrong. That runner with dump off could give him some trouble, and that blitzer with mighty blow could really give him some strife. Because if he
Absolutely.
wants to, using the Witch Elves against the dodge players to get that wrestle off could be a way of doing things. Though that would also put the Witch Elf in danger of fouling. Though I
Yeah.
don't recall, while watching Andy's games, I don't recall him being a very heavy fouler. I think he,
I, yeah.
I think he values his players too much. Like not too much. I'm saying he values his players enough that he's less likely to do those fouls.
And on the other hand, the Sage is a very surgical fouler. I know that he's quite capable of setting up good fouls. He's not your run of the mill fouling player, but he knows how to hurt you with fouling if the need arises. So it's going to be interesting to see whether he's going to try and remove the witches
Yeah, it will be a good match for
ASAP.
sure. And from what I saw from the scheduling, is it is not 100% confirmed, but the game could be happening in 3 hours from now. So
I see.
maybe I'll be able to live cast that because that is going to be a fun game, and I want to be there for that one.
Absolutely. I'd love to comment on that game actually, because I
Andy is
think
very
this one.
odds based. He knows the numbers like the back of his hand. I
Yeah.
remember while watching his stream, I was just amazed by he knew the odds, like the percent chance for every single move he did, and he says it. He says like I could make this, do 80% chance, or I could make this 70% chance, or I could blah blah blah, and it would just go through each of the um the odds for every single one of the moves he could make.
Yeah.
And I respect that he has that level of knowledge of the game. And as someone who used to work in a casino and had to do high level math every single day, I respect his mathematical skills.
Of course. And that's no mean feat. I mean, it's one thing to be able to do that, but on the other hand, while you're playing and streaming, that's a whole different thing
Yep.
to do.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to the leaderboard. And I not being disrespectful to them, I'm just saying it out. We do have a unfortunate team that has lost every game so far, which is the glorious ITBBL, which is a Norse team played by Sir Madness.
I see. Yeah, 4 losses. That's unfortunate.
I'm actually gonna have a look at that team. If I can find it. There we go. It's on the first page. That is, yeah, it's the first page. It's the second team. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna have a
got
look at
them.
this team and see why it seems to have been doing so bad. I don't know whether it's his plays or
I do. I do feel that there is a strong hint in the chosen skills here, because
mm,
I believe that he has got 2 skills that are very conditional, and that's strip ball
yeah.
twice.
Especially
Very
on
conditional.
I mean, they are on the runners that have really decent movement allowance, but at the same time, Norse have such their armor value is so low. It's
Yeah,
so easy to remove those high value players.
absolutely.
Um,
I mean, he got himself a tackling Berserker, which is a fine choice, I think.
I think that's
And
fantastic as well. Though I
yeah,
probably would have made both of my berserkers tackle to really deal
maybe,
with those.
yeah, because having a power dodge with tackle is as good as having strip ball, right?
Hmm.
Because if you've got an opponent ball carrier with dodge, that's basically removing
And the
the one
choice to
thing.
have
But
two throwers, that's
yeah, I kind of disagree with that as well, because they don't have the sure hand skill,
exactly.
which
In my opinion, I would have
uh,
gone for one thrower with sure hands and
absolutely,
one lineman or maybe one runner with catch. So
yeah.
you can capitalize on that free pass skill.
And I honestly I do think that having an AV17 with no dodges, so there is always a reasonable chance to get downed and
Stumbled,
having to roll
yeah.
armor. Stumble, you do need Mighty Blow on your side as well to be able to counter remove, right? Because if you get a bit unlucky with AV7, then you're just playing uphill with your guys.
Exactly. And as Blackburn says, and I completely agree, 2 throwers with no leader.
Yep.
And he's only got 2 team rerolls, which, as a general rule, I would say you want at least 3. And
yeah.
Go on, you first.
And to boot that, he doesn't have any receiver for the throw, right?
And that's what I was saying. You put catch on one of those runners. They've got that high movement allowance.
Yep.
You don't have any agility 4s, so dodge isn't like that. I mean, I just there are so many other things that could have been done with this team. He's gone for a team that's a ball carrier and passing team, but he doesn't have those necessary skills. So it's not a bashing team. It's not actually a ball carrying team because it doesn't have those skill needed. It's sort of a in between a team that doesn't excel at anything that they need to excel at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he's got that all those wrestles. He's got the strip ball and he's got the guard, which is a little bit into the hit side of things. But then he's also got those passes. So it's like he's got his fingers in too many pies and it's just not working out.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see how his plays actually work out when he uses his team. I mean, sometimes you see teams that have odd skill choices where you think, well, that is not supposed to work, and then you get surprised by how the coach manages his skills. But in this case, it doesn't seem to work out for him, right? So it would be interesting to see. And yes,
Blackburn also says, to be fair, it's not a completely bad team. It's not a completely bad team. No. Look at some of my teams and you'll see some pretty bad teams. But for this particular league, where a lot of the players in this league are, or not the players, sorry, a lot of the coaches in this league are making very competitive, known to work builds, doing something that's a bit out of the ordinary, which I always agree with, as we know. I love out of the ordinary stuff, but it's a real gamble, and if you don't do it, it's almost like he went a bit too safe. Like he was trying to do something out there, but then stopped halfway, and that sort of made it all higgledy-piggledy.
Yeah, indeed. As you said, having stuff that is a bit out of the ordinary is fine as long as you know what you're doing and as long as stuff works out for you. And yeah, he could just be unfortunate. I mean, we're not too, how's that called, too uptight on other opinions, but yeah. So that's what I mean if I say it would be interesting to look at those games to see, is it really the skill choice that screwed him over, or is it the way he plays, or has he just been unlucky, right?
Maybe I'll make a note. Maybe we'll have a look at those games just to see.
Would be interesting, I think. Plus, he would get a bit of attention, even though he's at the...
I think he deserves it, because if he's just been getting unlucky, I want to see that he's just been getting unlucky. And if the team is built poorly, then it's a learning experience. Like, we're not saying that he's a bad coach or whatever. He's probably a better coach than I am. But, everyone needs that little bit of criticism now and then. And it would be good... If it is just luck, I would want to see the team working so we know that it's something that could work, even though it doesn't look like it should. Also, something that I'm happy to see is that the Goblins have won a game. Streets Fire and Dice team has won a game. Looking at the leaderboard, it was good to see one of those stunty teams pulling through. Oh, here we go. And CJ Blackburn's team, an Ogre team, the Cavalcade of Awesomeness, has also won a game.
Well, I see. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, Ogres are really difficult to coach, and seeing them in a competitive environment is always at least dicey, but seeing them coming up with a win is actually pretty cool.
So unfortunately, if you don't have 2 wins at least by your 4th game, I don't think you're in the. I don't think you would have the ability to win. at this point.
That's true, though.
The people in the top would have to lose all of their games, which is actually impossible because we've got them going up against each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, Streets
Do
Gobbos.
we have any halfling teams that have pulled off a win by now?
Yes, we do. We have the Fling Thing by Dennis the Menace, who's pulled off a win, and a draw as well. I'm going to look at the top, and I'm going to go through and see if we can... I'm happy to see that in the top 3, the Action All-Stars by Sasanic is there. I like to see a Lisbon team. Unfortunately, I think they lost their most recent game.
Yeah.
But I do like seeing Lizardmen up there.
Well, to be fair, I think that Lizardmen do belong in Tier 1, so I think it's a very strong team. If you know what you're doing, that team can be like cancer to play against.
And Jumpy Jim's Goblin team has got 2 draws and 1 win. They've only lost 1 game, and I think that's a feat. That's a real feat.
That's really impressive. Yeah.
I'm going to have a look at their team, actually. Jim's team. I'm going to have to find it, though.
Yeah, if you find it.
I think it was in one of the last pages. I did write down a few of the teams, so I know the pages of some of the teams, but not all of them yet.
He's on page 3,
cool,
second to last team.
Here we go. Let's have a look at that. Oh, I think I remember commenting on his team. I was interested in choosing Break Tackle on one of those trolls. I was like, well, I would have gone for another block. That's right, and I think the game that we actually... I don't know if you were there, but I casted one of those games, and it was the game that unfortunately he lost against the Action All-Stars. So I only saw... But it's good to see that a team like this is doing well, and I'm happy to say that he has sure hands. One of the like 5 or 6 teams in this entire league that has chosen to give someone sure hands. I know I can filter by coach name Saltforged, but for some reason, and we've seen it, I'll type in their name, letter for letter, capital for capital as it's put, and it won't search for them for some reason. So my Blood Bowl, my copy of Blood Bowl is just screwed. Crashes, I have to find them the normal way. Lizards are one of the best teams in the format. Yeah, in top 5, I would say that too. Lizardmen.
Absolutely. I mean,
oh, I think we just...
They should be like favored to pull through in the end.
Did you? I think you just disconnected for a sec, but you're back. You're back now. But
oh, all right. So what I was saying was, I think that Lizardmen are in top spot, like Skaven and Wood Elves are too in this format, because those teams are so super quick and can outplay your opponent, and without having losses, because it's a resurrection format, AB7 doesn't hurt you too much.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you have a Wood Elf team and you are down to 7 players, you can still own the plays. And so yeah, I think that those are teams.
Agreed.
I'd like to comment on Jumpy Jim's skill choices, because you've done that before, but I think he has made very wise choices and very...
Especially with that Hail Mary on that Bombardier, I think that's a fantastic skill choice.
Because the main problem with the Bombardier is you cannot run or walk the guy before you throw the bomb. So usually what smart opponents do, they just man mark your guy, and then you have to dodge out or you have to throw at another -1, which is also bad for a Goblin because of only agility 3 and stunty, right? So having Hail Mary pass means you can actually put him down like 10 spaces back to your end zone, and he can throw the bomb anywhere.
Yeah.
And I mean anywhere, with the same margin of error as he would have just throwing the bomb as it is with a tackle zone on him, right?
Exactly, and since the bomb has that blast radius of a full block, even if you miss by a square or even 2, you can still hit what you were trying to hit in the first place.
And targeting cages with that thing is a nightmare for your opponent.
Yeah.
Because if you get a bit lucky, you can easily break off the corner of a cage, and if that happens, your ball carrier is open, right? So,
exactly. Also, we're doing something different today. I don't know, since you arrived a bit later. We're actually going to not show the scores for this week until we're like the end of the game that we're casting. So I will be covering up the scores on the schedule. So,
All right.
just so people know.
And then,
Yep, go on.
yeah, I think I'd really like to comment because I think it's a really clever way. Having a grab on that fanatic is really clever because the fanatic doesn't have mighty blow, but he has strength 7, so he's able to block anything and everything,
Yeah.
even Treeman. And having grab really means that you can push one of the guys if you're lucky enough to hit one. And usually your opponent will try to space out his guys so that you can only hit one guy a turn, if at all. But with grab, you can actually line them up so that you have 2 guys in the direction you want to go. And that's a really clever choice.
I agree completely.
I have had the honor to, in my last season match in the TBBL, I had the honor to play a Goblin team as well. And he managed to block with his fanatic I think 10 times, including the ones that are blocks on downed orcs. I was playing orcs. So every time you run into a downed player, you get to roll armor again, which is fantastic. And it can really hurt your opponent if that is pulled off. And having grab means you can pretty much all of the time line up 2 guys to block, which is fantastic. I think that's a really smart choice here.
So one of the games that I really wanted to have a look at that's already been played,
yeah.
And again, we're not saying what the result is, was Escape